The night was quiet, almost too quiet. The kind of silence that carries stories waiting to be told, stories that ache to be heard. I remember sitting on the porch, the soft hum of summer crickets echoing through the stillness when she first looked at me that way, with eyes that held both sorrow and longing. My mom's friend, Clara, wasn't supposed to be a part of my story. She was just someone who came by to check in, to laugh over coffee, to help Mom through her loneliness. But that night, something changed. Something inside her and inside me began to stir. If you're feeling the depth of this story already, make sure to hit that like button, drop your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to Kindness Universe for more cinematic, emotional stories that touch the soul. Clara had always been a presence, graceful but distant, like a painting you can admire but never touch. She'd been in our lives since I was a kid. I remembered her laughter, that airy, honey-smooth sound that used to fill our living room when my mom and she talked for hours. But over the years, that laughter faded. Life had taken pieces of her. A painful divorce, a son who moved away, and the slow, aching loneliness that settles when you realize the world no longer revolves around your presence. When I came back from college that summer, Clara was around more often. She'd help Mom redecorate the garden, share recipes, talk about books, and sometimes just sit in silence, sipping tea as the sun went down. But I started noticing things. The way her gaze lingered on the horizon, as if she was searching for something she'd lost. The way her hands trembled slightly when she laughed, and how she tried to mask her sadness behind perfectly measured smiles. I don't know what drew me closer to her. Maybe it was her quiet pain, the kind that doesn't scream but whispers. Or maybe it was the way she saw through me, beyond the surface-level confidence of youth, straight into the spaces where I still felt uncertain, unseen. One evening, when Mom was out visiting her sister, Clara came by to drop off a few things. The air smelled of rain, heavy, electric, full of the kind of tension that precedes something life-changing. We sat on the porch, listening to the storm grow in the distance. She talked, not about small things this time, but about life, regrets, and how strange it feels to grow older and realize time isn't as infinite as we once believed. Her voice trembled slightly when she said, "You know, sometimes I feel invisible, like the world moves on without noticing you've stopped breathing inside." Her words hit me harder than I expected. I turned toward her, and that's when I saw it. The loneliness in her eyes wasn't quiet anymore. It was begging to be understood, and maybe for the first time she felt safe enough to let it out. I reached out instinctively, not out of pity, but connection. Our hands met, soft, accidental, yet electric. She froze, staring at our joined hands, then looked up at me with eyes full of tears she refused to let fall. "You make me feel alive again," she whispered, her voice breaking. That moment lasted forever, suspended in silence, fragile and raw. But it wasn't what people might assume. It wasn't about desire or forbidden emotions. It was about two souls, generations apart, finding warmth in shared vulnerability. It was about her realizing that kindness, understanding, and presence could breathe life into someone who had forgotten what it felt like to be seen. After that night, something shifted between us. Not in a romantic way, but in something deeper, more human. She started coming around more, not to escape her loneliness, but to rediscover her joy. I'd help her paint her old art pieces, play her favorite songs from the 80s, and listen to her stories about love, heartbreak, and the beauty of resilience. Through those moments, I learned something I hadn't before, that sometimes it's not grand gestures that heal. People, but small ones, listening, smiling, being there. We underestimate how powerful our presence can be in someone else's life. One afternoon, Clara told me she decided to start teaching art again, something she'd given up years ago. "You reminded me what it feels like to wake up excited again," she said with a grin that lit up her entire face. I'd never seen her look so alive. Mom noticed it too. She'd tease her about glowing like a teenager, and Clara would just laugh, a sound that finally returned with its full warmth. Our house began to feel different, lighter, warmer. It wasn't just Clara who changed, I did too. Because in helping her rediscover her spark, I realized how often we too dim our light without noticing. We get caught up in responsibilities, expectations, and the noise of the world, forgetting that the simplest things, compassion, connection, time, are what truly keep us alive. Months passed and life carried on, as it always does. Clara moved to a nearby town to open her own art studio. The day she left, she hugged me tightly and said, "Thank you for seeing me when I couldn't see myself." Those words stayed with me. They became a quiet reminder that every soul we meet carries a hidden storm, and sometimes all it takes is one small act of kindness to calm it. Before we reach the heart of the ending, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Kindness Universe if this story touched something deep inside you. Your support keeps these stories alive. Years later, I walked into a gallery in the city, and there it was, one of Clara's paintings. It was a portrait of a hand reaching out toward light, titled "Alive Again." I stood there staring at it for a long time, feeling that same quiet electricity of that stormy night years ago. Sometimes we don't realize how much impact a single connection can have. One conversation, one touch, one moment of understanding. Clara didn't just find life again, she taught me how to live more consciously, more compassionately, more awake. As I left the gallery that day, I smiled, because life is a circle of kindness, and when we give someone a reason to feel alive again, we breathe life into ourselves too.